Hey, welcome back to the channel. I was wanting to talk to you today. I'm here unloading. It's early Friday morning, and I'm in the town that I live in, which is odd that I'm unloading here where I live at, especially on a Friday. But I've got to go up to Missouri and get reloaded, and then drop my truck and trailer off, and then come home for the weekend because I live in Arkansas, but I work in Missouri. And this place that I'm unloading at, just right across this field and a building here. I know you can't see it, but I used to have a storage building here when I was an owner operator, and I was paying $275 a month for a storage building that I didn't need and I didn't want. The only reason that I got it was because it had an area where I could park my truck and trailer, and the storage building I could put my tools and parts and stuff in where I could work on my semi truck. Parking was an issue back then, and parking is an issue now. I called this place that I'm delivering at. I called them yesterday because I knew I was going to deliver here today, and they said, "Are you familiar with this area?" And I said, "Actually, I live here." And they said, "Oh, okay, well, you'll probably go home, right?" And I said, "It depends on what my hours are and depends on parking." And they said, "Well, you can park your truck here." Now, in hindsight, now that I've sat and thought about it, I wish I would have parked my truck here last night, and then they could have unloaded it early this morning when they came to work, or I could have came over here, met them over here. I spent the night at my house last night. I could have came over here, met them here, or they could have had it already unloaded, and I could have just took off and went. Um, Parking is an issue, and they knew this, and it's not just in this area. There are certain areas of the United States that there is no parking issue. You know, there's no parking issue. You can just pull up and park just about anywhere, and there's no problem, no issue with it. Other areas, um, this area that I live in has been especially bad because you have a lot of people that do grain hauling, that do flatbed work, that do really short runs, and they leave early in the morning, they're back in the afternoon. Uh, Daytime workers, they don't stay out on the road weeks and months at a time. There's reoccurring loads coming in and out of this area to where, a guy can come in, say, Tuesday, come back in again Thursday, and then be off for the weekend, leave back out on Sunday, stuff like that. So they need a constant parking spot. The other problem that is in this area here is a lot of people don't want to pay anything, not even $5. They don't want to pay for parking. Even though I was paying over there $275 a month for a parking spot, I was insured that I had a parking spot when I come in, no matter if it was, a 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon or 9 o'clock on a Friday night. I was insured that there was a parking spot. Even with that I was paying for that spot, I come in one time and there was a dump truck parked in my parking spot. And I started looking around, going to all the buildings around, and I said, who does this dump truck belong to? Finally, a guy, admitted that it was his, and he said, you know, is there a problem? And I said, well, yeah, I pay almost $300 a month for this parking spot, and you're taking it. Well, why are you paying? And I said, because I want to make sure I've got a parking spot. And he said, well, that's dumb. He said, this is just free parking out here. And I said, no, it's not. And he eventually moved. He got a little bit of an attitude. Later on, we became uh, somewhat of friends, working together friends. We exchanged tools, and he would help work on my truck and I would help work on his and different things. But parking is an issue right now, 2025, I think, because of several different reasons. I don't think there's just one thing that you can point your finger at. One thing that a lot of people don't think about is this economy. Uh, Trucking is an industry where it's usually not hit as much or as hard as other industries. Whenever the economy goes bad, it seems like trucking builds up because so many people are leaving their regular jobs, getting into trucking because it's more stable. But then it makes trucking unstable because there's an overage of truck drivers. I think that's what we've got going on right now. There are too many truck drivers, not enough freight, too many truck drivers, too many trucks on the road, and not enough parking. I think that is what's going on. Whenever I hear the term, we have a major shortage of truck drivers, I say to those people, get in the truck with me. Let's drive around all over the country and you show me where I can park at. If you know so much about trucking and you know that there's a major shortage of drivers, drive around and show me where I can park at. Because I'm not seeing a shortage, I'm seeing a major overage of truck drivers. And the parking situation shows it. Especially around bigger towns, Chicago, Atlanta. You pull into those towns 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, you're screwed. There's nowhere to park. I mean, you can't even pay for a place to park. It happened to me 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. I think it was. I think it was last week. I paid for a spot in Cartersville, Georgia, just north of Atlanta on 75. Got in there. It was at a Pilot truck stop. I paid for it online and got down there, and the whole parking lot was full. Every paid spot was full. Every free spot was full. There was trucks parked where trucks shouldn't be parked at. There was trucks parked on the fuel island, all over the parking lot, on the road next to it, getting in there. And I pulled up, got out of the truck, went in, and told them, "Hey, I paid for a parking spot. I expect my parking spot." And they said, "Well, there's a problem. It's just two cashiers and one guy that's working cleaning the restrooms or cleaning the showers, and we've got 15 people waiting in line to get a shower. Um, Nobody can help you. I'm sorry." And I said, "Well, can I have my $25 back for the parking spot?" "No, we don't give refunds." "Well, I want my parking spot." "Well, you're not going to get it. I'm sorry. Just park wherever you can." That's a problem. And that's a problem that, truck stops are not enforcing their own policies. I see that in truck stops all over. Have you ever pulled into a truck stop? This happens, it seems to me, more in Kentucky than any other place for some reason. But you go to these parking areas and truck stops in Kentucky, and they're filled up with tree trimmer trucks, the big boom arm trucks, boom bucket trucks. And there'll be 15 or 20 of those trucks, just crowded in there and, taking up the entire parking lot. And I'm like, why are you here? If you're running a business, why are you parking all your trucks into a truck stop that is overcrowded to begin with? If you have a business, shouldn't you have an area where you could park your own trucks? Trucking companies, for the most part, have their own business with their own parking lot. So why are they filling the truck stops up? And, I guess the argument that some people would say is, well, you should go pay for a parking spot so you can ensure you have one like you did here at your storage building. I drive, 7, 8 state area. Am I going to pay for a parking spot in every single town that I go to just to ensure that I have one? Even if I do, there's no guarantee that it's going to be there when I get there. Another problem that I see, and this is going to probably irritate a lot of truck drivers, is truck drivers don't want to work. I personally know of a guy, and this is an almost unbelievable story, but I personally know of a guy that's had about 16 jobs in the last 6 months. It started out that he was working for a mega carrier as an owner operator. He jackknifed his truck, destroyed it. It was an at fault accident. They ended his lease, because of it. Stopped it and ended his lease. And he had nowhere to go, so he had to go to company driving. He couldn't afford to get another truck. He didn't like that company, so he quit. And he immediately went and got another job. And then he didn't like it, and he quit. And he kept going and going. His problem is, or his want is, he wants to have a job where he only runs between 200 and 400 miles per day. Maximum. That's all he wants to run is 200 to 400 miles per day. And he wants to be home as much as possible. If it was every couple of days, it probably wouldn't be enough home time for him. He wants to be home as much as possible. And even if he can find that job where he can only run 2 or 3, 400 miles per day and be off on weekends, just for instance, he'll only work there for a couple of months, couple of weeks to a couple of months maximum. And he's like, I'm tired of it. I don't want to work it anyway. It could be the perfect job for him. Exactly what he wants. And he'll still get tired of it because he doesn't want to work. So he'll quit. And within 2 weeks, he's got another job. And there's other jobs that he's went to work for. And immediately they're like, you're going to have to stay out 3 to 5 weeks at a time. And you're going to have to run 3,000 miles a week. He'll get the job and try to run the way he wants to and make 1 run or 2 runs, just work a couple of days. And they're like, you're not running hard enough. You can't do what we need you to do. So he'll quit. And you say, well, what's that got to do with parking? Well, somebody that runs like this and only runs 200 to 400 miles per day, what are they doing? They're setting all the time. All the time. the more trucks you have running, the less that you have in parking lots. And I have witnessed this over my 25 years of trucking. I've witnessed this over and over and over. I'll pull into a parking spot and just notice a truck there. Usually it's a mega carrier, but I'll notice a truck there, and it will be sitting there when I get the parking spot. I'll take a 10-hour break, go deliver my freight, and it might be really close by the truck stop, right? So I'll deliver my freight, come back, go back by the truck stop, as I'm leaving out to go get reloaded. Same truck still sitting there, hasn't moved. I've seen trucks, I know without a doubt, set in the same parking spot 2 and 3 days at a time. If you're not working, you're just sitting there collecting dust in a parking spot. That same thing happened last night. I went to go park at the truck stop so I could go home. I did not park here. I parked at the truck stop, and it was a little like a country setting style truck stop. It wasn't a big major chain truck stop. Pulled in there, no parking. The whole thing was full. And this was probably 7, 8 o'clock at night. The whole thing was completely full. In fact, there was a truck parked on the road that went through the truck stop, through the truck stop parking lot. He just pulled up there and set his brakes in the middle of the road. I had nowhere to park, so I parked to a business next to it. Not in the truck stop, but, next to it. And my wife came and got me, and I said, I'm not so sure about this. I'm not sure that I can park here. And she said, oh, I'm sure it's fine. It's where we live at. People are laid back. They don't care. And I said, something's telling me that it's not a good thing to park here. And she said, oh, I think you'll be fine. Well, I went home. She brought me back this morning. It was real early this morning. Came back to get in my truck, started it up, did my pre-trip, and there was a guy pulled up to the business that I was sitting in front of. Now, I was way away from his front door. I was a good 100 feet away from his front door. There was plenty enough room for cars to get in and out. I was up next to a ditch, at the very far end of his parking lot. And he got out of his truck and he started walking towards me. He made eye contact and started walking towards me. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. He walked right up to me and he said, why are you here? Are you delivering here? And I said, no, sir. I said, I just needed a parking spot last night. I said, I'm about to leave. Well, that's what I was about to tell you. If you're not delivering here and you don't have any business here, let's go. Move it. Now, that guy was just being a jerk. I'll be honest with you. I mean, that guy was just being, a selfish jerk. Because it didn't hurt anything for me to park there. I wasn't in anyone's way. It was just, that was his property, and his rules. But I knew ahead of time, that there would probably be a problem. And I didn't really want to park there, but I did. It's just an area where this is an area of subject to where we've got a layered problem. Up in Illinois, I know in Illinois, a lot of the rest areas are being closed up there. In other states, you see rest areas where there used to be a rest area there, but it's closed. The building was torn down, and you see signs up that say no trespassing, no overnight parking here. I pulled into a truck stop. Sorry, I misspoke. Pulled into a weigh scale the other day. I was just going to take a 30-minute break. The weigh scale was closed, but you could get in. I was going to pull into the weigh scale and take a 30-minute break. Signs up everywhere. No parking, no unattended vehicles, no overnight parking. And I think there was a sign up that said $300 fine for littering, which brings up another issue. I personally think there needs to be a federal law. I personally think this. If there is a weigh scale anywhere in the United States, especially weigh scales, if there is one in the United States, it should provide parking. It should be like Kentucky weigh scales. Every one of them is considered a safe haven where you park. I mean, if they're able to write you up for running over your hours of service, then they need to provide you with adequate parking so you don't run over your hours of service. It's a no-brainer to me that weigh scales should have free parking, 24-hour parking, anytime, whether the weigh scale is open or not, attended or not. It should be open for parking. That should be a no-brainer, especially with all of the equipment that they have now to monitor everything. A video camera is cheap compared to all the equipment that they use to monitor trucks going across the scale. They could have video cameras out there catching illegal activity or trash being thrown out. And that was the other point that I was going to make. That was my last point that I was going to make. A lot of truck drivers bring this parking issue on trucking in general. I don't understand truckers and trash. I've never understood that. I've got a trash bucket right here beside of my seat. Right here. Well, you didn't see it, but it's right here. Keep it right there beside of my seat. When it gets full, I wrap it up, I walk over to a dumpster, throw it out. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, folks. I mean, it's just not that hard. There's usually dumpsters. Pull up on the fuel island, there's usually a trash can. This has been a problem with trucking for 30, 40 years or more, and I don't understand it. It's like truckers do it on purpose because they're mad, they're pissed off, they've got attitudes, they just don't care. They just wad their trash up, throw it out the window. Well, I don't care. And before long, the whole area around there is trashed out, old used tires thrown out, and somebody has to pay to clean that up. I mean, that's a problem with rats, rodents, cockroaches. It destroys the area, and people don't want to deal with it. So they don't want to deal with truck drivers. So that's where all the signs are coming up. No parking, because we don't want to deal with you. And to be honest, I don't blame them. And a lot of us that are legitimate, that will take our trash out, that will be clean, we get thrown in with all the bad apples and like, oh, sure, yeah, we've heard that story before. You'll clean up after yourself and take care of everything, and you'll even clean the parking lot, right? Yeah, we understand what you're saying. No, you don't get to park here. I mean, that truck drivers are very irritating. They're very irritating. They will stand up and lie to your face. Oh, I've never thrown trash out. I've never thrown a pee bottle out. I've never done anything like this. You get them away from everybody else, and they're just unloading their entire truck and throwing it out in the parking lot and sitting there laughing about it. I don't know. I don't understand it. You know, that was one of the things I was wanting to do this channel about, was to bring truck drivers together to address issues, to address problems, for us to all come together and work together. There's some that will do it, but most, I would say 75%, I don't care. They only care about themselves. Pull in, get a parking spot, slam the door, throw their trash out in the parking lot, go home, get back in the truck, spin their tires in the gravel, throw it in gear, hurry up and go do whatever I need to do, come back, get out of my way, I need a parking spot. Everybody in trucking is looking out for themselves, not for each other. It's the way it seems, anyway. And it's very discouraging. And a lot of this parking issue that we're dealing with is brought on by ourselves. That's my thoughts on it. Not all, but a lot of it is. So I am going to take this, after I get unloaded here, I'm going to go get reloaded in Missouri, and I'm going to take this truck and this trailer to the yard, and I'm going to drop it off, and I'm going to take my trash out and throw it in the dumpster, and I'm going to go home for the weekend. And then Monday, I'll deliver this load and restart my week. So I will catch you probably Monday or Tuesday with another